Hey, what's good, everybody? It's Virtue, and today I've got a pretty interesting topic. I'm here with Thor. Go ahead and say what's up.
What's going on, guys? TG or Thunder got here.
Hit you with a new one, huh? Anyway, we got pretty much how would each Akatsuki duo do against like the Konoha, Sage, Naruto, like whatever combo, and how they would do it actually capturing him. And we will be kind of grading them, I guess, based on if they could do as well as Pain, if they could actually take Naruto, and to kind of see how they would perform in the distract and hunt areas, see what they can do to maybe if they would need to bomb the village and whatnot. And we got a lot of other things lined up for this video. Like we'll have rounds like Kakashi, Choza, Choji. They're going to kind of come up first, and the duo is going to have to run through them. And Tsunade will come in if enough damage is, not done to the village or enough injury is not afflicted to the village. And then obviously, Naruto comes in or whatever. We still have Danzo. He's still going to kill the toad to delay it. So Naruto will come in about the same time or whatever. But, do you have any other like introductory thoughts?
Nah, man, I think it's a very interesting scenario since you kind of get to look at the approach of these Akatsuki members because what Pain did is not what a lot of these people can do or will do. So it just creates this interesting scenario to see kind of like how everyone kind of would fare their approach and just kind of also talk about like where Naruto and Sage Mode kind of stacks up as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. We both think Sage Naruto is actually kind of crazy. I will say though first, I know you've done this video before. So, credit to you. And I know a lot of other people have also done this video, and I'll just throw those videos up on screen. So all those creators, credit to them. This is not my original idea, but I definitely think we'll definitely add something new and a new twist on this. But do you want to go ahead and start off where you think Sage Naruto, like, briefly scales?
Yeah, so, we have a lot of, like, inferences, one measure people use is that Sage Mode Naruto completely, like, eclipses the Sannin tier, the base Sannin tier, which he would, because he's just more comparable to a Sage Mode Jiraiya. Now, I'm of the opinion, I do think Sage Mode Naruto is stronger. I don't think it's, like, by some, like, astronomical margin. Like, I actually think, like, him and Sage Mode Jiraiya are in a similar tier. But I do lean on that Naruto stuff. And obviously the Sannin speak for themselves. Some people have varying opinions on the Sannin. So that kind of, can place Naruto a bit higher, a bit lower. I think what's also pretty absolute is Naruto compared to Sasuke at the end of the 5 Kage Summit. Because it's pretty implied that Naruto and Sasuke would just like high diff each other by that point at the summit. I know a lot of people like make some inferences like Naruto needing the Nine Tails chakra or him saying that. A lot of these are just mixed in with like narrative factors in the series at this point. Like Naruto needs the Nine Tails because he can't risk another scenario against like what happened with Pain against the Nine Tails, stuff like that. And the whole arguments of like Naruto seeing like base Sasuke, like fatigued and thinking Sasuke is stronger. We just got to throw those out. I don't agree with those at all. If you argue that, you also have to argue Sasuke thinks he needs an EMS off of base Naruto. Something we've talked about as well. You could also argue in that encounter, Naruto's also suffering from like that panic attack he had previously, along with being poisoned. So even this base Naruto may not be 100%. But we also do know that Naruto senses Sasuke Susanoo, his peak hatred performing to the battlefield. And the biggest, underlying thing here is that both Naruto and Sasuke are able to enter that realm that they only really enter when they're equally matched. So for example, in like the Final Valley fights, or, the only other time we really see this is when like Obito is like having that chakra tug of war and his soul is like talking to Naruto's, or just like that kind of similar situation with like Obito and Kakashi. So when you kind of reach these levels where Naruto and Sasuke are able to like exchange words and have like entire conversations through shinobi conflict, which is, a big part of the narrative throughout the show, it does kind of paint them as being very close in strength at that point. I know that was kind of a ramble, but yeah, just like a little 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Even Obito thinks like the base Naruto and then that fatigued like base Sasuke would be like a close fight. Like he was gonna like want to sit around and watch it or whatever. So I think that's pretty consistent. Yeah, so I completely agree with what you said. I will say I think Sage Naruto in terms of just like normal physicality scales above like Pain, or at least a fatigued Pain, probably not, maybe not a full power Pain, but that one that did having to do all this, which is nothing to like underestimate. Like Pain's arsenal is the most built out of all these duos. Like I'm not even gonna lie. it's pretty much cooked. What he did was, insane. A fifth of the Shinobi Alliance. He was nuts with what he did. But Sage Naruto, in terms of like actual fighting, he low-key one-shots all the paths. So Pain's never able to get around his durability. So I will say, I think Sage Naruto is like slightly like in that Pain tier. You can say he's above, like the fatigued Pain or whatnot. But that's what I would say for Sage Naruto. But starting with our first duo, one of my favorite actually, is Sasori and Deidara. And here's the thing, like, they can cause insane amounts of damage, but they don't do it at like the same time. Like one thing I noted, and a lot of people like they bring up the statement of like Sasori destroying a country or whatever, right? And the anime has this as a land called the Land of This, which is a little small like nation that bordered the Land of Rivers and the Land of Fire, and then I guess a bordering nation hired the Akatsuki to destroy it for money, or at least bring it down so then they could take it over and have more land or whatever, right? And then so they just sent Sasori and Deidara after it, and Deidara was gonna start dropping the bombs, but then Sasori's like, no, I'm gonna do it. So they don't do it at the same time, and then that's when Sasori uses his 100 puppets. They were all kind of foddered in, so like don't scale anything off that, but that's just kind of how they would do it in character. However, I will say that I think Deidara is way more likely and way better fit to cause the damage than Sasori. So Deidara would play like that distraction role, and Sasori would play the hunt role and actually try to find Naruto, as that's way better. As Sasori also has stuff like mind control, which is pretty interesting. And do you want to like touch on his mind control?
Yeah, it's very interesting. When you look at the data book, it talks about it as like needles that attack the memories. And we see this as the individual used on it. I don't remember his name, virtual put on screen or something like that. Apologies. But essentially, it's that one Sand Shinobi. And he pretty much just has like false memories and has been like a double agent the whole time. And this is kind of like an in-character kind of cool approach that Sasori might take. Like he might just, have that on one of the Leaf Shinobi and have them gain intel and like eavesdrop on a conversation. And then like maybe just take down the ninja like who are on recon for the barrier, kind of similar to what Pain did. You know what I'm saying? He pulls up in the Leaf Village, and the first people who notice with the barrier, he just completely like takes down and stuff like that. So it could be kind of an interesting situation. We obviously saw that kind of made way for Sasori and Deidara to just kind of stroll into the Sand Village with no real issue. So that's kind of an interesting approach I see here. And I think that's something Sasori would do in character, since obviously, they're obviously not going to want to just take on the entirety of the Leaf. They're going to want to play range. They're going to want to play safe. They're not obviously going to have all these powerhouses. They're not going to have like the animal path to just like create all these distractions. And obviously, while the 100 puppets is great, to say the 100 puppets could solo the Leaf Village, no, to be honest, it's not really like you're not able to make that distinction. Honestly, it's not the case, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The Land of This was like, I think it had like one main combatant guy, and like Sasori and Hiroko kind of like killed him, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah,
yeah, they're not beating like the top nation. So I will say, though, that I do think Deidara causes the damage faster than Pain did. And that's not to say he could cause more damage than Pain, like outside of, like, the Shinra Tensei, right? But in terms of, like, how the Ashura went around and was, like, bombing the buildings with, like, his head cannon or whatever, Deidara could probably do it faster with like C3 and whatnot, and C3 would probably, he dropped like 2 of those, and that would be quite a bit, enough for like Tsunade to stay out of the fight. At least I would say so. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with Tsunade is that like people don't understand that she was getting ready to intervene in the conflict. She was just kind of like staying back, obviously, to heal the village, and obviously they did need to gain intel. But the minute she did actually try and fight the Diva Path, he just did like that almighty push, and just kind of like,
yeah,
she obviously hid inside of Katsuyu, like she was focused on protecting the villagers and whatnot. But I don't think she would be more likely to hop in this type of situation. Like she would not be as docile and stuff like that. And even if you argue she takes a similar role, it's just like the numbers aren't really going to be there. You know what I'm saying? For her not to be. Sasori and Deidara are not these opponents who, while they do have a bunch of nuanced abilities, they're not like these Sanin slaying like guys who have like all this mystery behind their abilities. Like Kakashi has fought Deidara, and then, you know what I mean? So if you kind of go off like some in-canon stuff, if not, you could argue they would just be able to deduce it much quickly or much more quickly than Pain's.
Yeah, I agree. So we could talk about like Tsunade coming in a bit, but what do you think about like Sasori starting off against Kakashi, Choza and Choji, and then like Deidara coming in. Because to be honest, okay, one thing I think we gotta say about Kakashi and Sasori is like Shinki, he's another like Iron Sand user in Boruto. And he low-key gets messed up by like lightning style, but I think it's Mitsuki, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like that. So you can imply that's a weakness, and the Raikiri is not the Chidori. The Raikiri is an S rank, and it's literally like, you know, one of the peak of like lightning style. So I think
it's S rank, less hand signs. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So if anything can get through it, I mean, this is probably it. So I would say that Kakashi kind of has an advantage against like Sasori, and I also think that Kakashi is obviously greater than Sakura, who is able to perceive and kind of work around Sasori's abilities and whatnot. Of course, he will have some trouble, and especially people like Choza and Choji won't be as viable as they were against Pain, just based on the kind of fighter that Sasori is. But I think that Kakashi would cause him enough trouble, you know. And I don't think that Sasori would be able to kill him very quickly. And I think Deidara would have to come in and help him.
I'll say this because I have some opinions. Kakashi actually has like a really good matchup against Sasori because he can see the chakra threats. He can see his heart with his Sharingan, right? These things are all things he can know very quickly. And he actually will be able to cut the chakra threads with Raikiri, since Omo in the war can just cut them with like a basic sword slash. So it's actually not that crazy for him. So he doesn't even necessarily like, maybe you want to argue like, oh, Sasori's like this, you know, Kazekage slaying, like Sannin slaying demigod, and you want to go off that. Like, it doesn't inherently like actually just give him a W here. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't just like wild out and stuff like that. So Kakashi actually has a really good matchup in Sasori here. And then you start arguing like Choza, you know, Konoha's highest war asset or potential, obviously would make a difference with Choji as well. It would be a lot for him. Sasori's poison would probably be detrimental since, you know, obviously they wouldn't have antidotes ready for them. It kind of depends, like, if the Leaf's able to discern that he's, like, poisoning the Shinobi and, like, how they would deal with that. But in that type of situation, listen, the way Kakashi kind of fights in this situation is that he pretty much fights with feints and clones to kind of scope out intel from his opponent. So that's something he's going to be doing here. I mean, if he's able to do this against the Diva Path, he's going to be able to do it versus Sasori. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just no question about that.
Yeah, which would also like help him to kind of work around the poison and at least to understand it a lot more. I will say though, if Tsunade, you know, were to come in and fight, she could probably concoct an antidote for Sasori, or at least her like regen, you know, her mitotic cell regen might just be able to overcome the paralytic effects, which is kind of interesting. So she could, you know, potentially hard counter Sasori. Obviously, she's more agile than the Sakura that was able to do that, as she's the one that taught Sakura how to dodge like that and be that agile, which is pretty interesting to note. So I think if Tsunade comes in, they don't make it past this area, you know what I mean? But if not, I think Deidara could help enough to, you know, bomb them, you know what I mean? Because I think Heavy Sasuke is obviously a higher combatant than this Kakashi. You know,
I agree.
You know, maybe not obvious, but I at least think he is. I think he's faster, at least, which is what's more important. And Deidara, even though he's slower in combat speed, he's able to make up for this and overcome that with his bombs and their explosion velocities and what they're able to bring to the table. So I think he would also be able to overwhelm, you know, henceforth a lower character than that, being like Kakashi, with, you know, his C2. And then he would just take a similar approach to stay out of his range if he is too fast. And then Sasori could kind of just stay more on like on a back end. So I think they could beat Kakashi, Choza, and Choji, you know, through this. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you add in the Tsunade support, it adds a really interesting dynamic to the fight, obviously. You know, Tsunade's pretty cracked, and this obviously being amped if she goes into her Byakugo Sion amping further. And I like that you brought up that point about the mitotic regeneration potentially being able to counteract the likes of Sasori's poison. I think it makes for an interesting discussion. I will also add too that there's some interesting stuff you could maybe say about Sasori. Like, something I've heard brought up is that he actually does survive like Sakura's punch on the Hiroko puppet. And I know some people have argued that like he used to that's like a tank, but you're kind of like comparing Sakura's raw strength, where she only surpasses Tsunade in the war arc. You know what I mean? Like, and this is obviously a much stronger Sakura. So it's like, you know, Sakura's. The thing about Tsunade is that, like, 100 puppets, she's honestly probably too durable to even just, like, get hit by any of them or just, like, get taken down. And then, like, you know, she's obviously going to be hitting way too hard for, like, someone like Sasori. Even if you want to argue, like, he disassembles himself to, like, kind of negate those effects, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kakashi's going to be there as excellent support. And Kamui should not be underestimated at this point. Even if Kakashi uses it like as like last resort, kind of like he does in character at this point in the series, it's still pretty disastrous. Like, he could snipe the heart. If he's able to snipe a nail, you could argue he snipes the heart, like Sasori's core after seeing it with the Sharingan, or if he unveils his human body, or like he actually snipes Deidara with like a much more accurate and precision strike than what he did initially, much earlier in the show with the weaker version.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, personally, I'm going to say that she doesn't come in. But if you do think she comes in, they don't get to Naruto. Like, just straight up, they don't get to him. Because a lot of people, they do like to say that Sasori is like Sanin, level, because he scales to Chiyo. And we also know that there are statements implying that Chiyo kind of doesn't lose much strength as she gets older. Or at least whenever she fights Sasori. So, obviously, at this time, she kind of implies she's a lot weaker than Tsunade, and she definitely hints at inferiority to Tsunade around this time, which is pretty interesting as well, which just kind of puts, Sasori under her, since, she's able to react to him quite well with her, with her fingers and her puppet strings and whatnot. A lot of people do like to say that, well, she could scale to Hanzo, who scales above all three Sanin at once, right? Because, they used to fight all the time, but I think that's pretty disingenuous to say that, because whenever Hanzo fights these relative opponents, such as, the Sanin, he dubbed them the Sanin. He dubbed Mifune as a very strong opponent. He let him live and whatnot. So I think he would have mentioned Chiyo, and he doesn't really know her. And whenever she talks about her encounters with Hanzo, in general, at least even the second war overall, she talks more about what she was doing medically rather than more like in combat. So maybe she could have been on the same battlefield as Hanzo, but it would have just been healing people from who got poisoned, which is consistent with her concocting an antidote and whatnot. So,
I have an interesting thought about Chiyo as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm not super opposed to the idea. If you want to say like Chiyo, like maybe on like a base Sanin tier, I think that's actually fair enough. Like, you can argue that around. I just do want to note, like, Byakugo Seal Tsunade is just objectively above Chiyo. There's no discussion to be had about that. Even like discussing Hanzo stuff, an interesting thing like I want to make note of is that Hanzo actually doesn't remember Mifune, but does make more of a note about Chiyo. So you could maybe use that to say, like, oh, Chiyo may actually just scale, like, above, like, that version of Mifune that fought Hanzo and was, like, this high-diff opponent, which could paint her more impressive. Or, I actually do agree with Virtue's interpretation of, like, the medical ninjutsu, because that's what the data books actually note specifically for Chiyo. Like, first and foremost. And it's supported by her having, like, this pseudo-antidote war, like poison antidote war with Tsunade as well, in the previous Great Ninja War. So I think there's like a bunch of variables you could talk about for Chiyo, but yeah, that kind of also can like sway like where you are on like the Sasori spectrum as well. Just to, like throw that in.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll just say they get past that first round, but what happens with Naruto is disgusting to say the least.
Body bag.
Yeah, Naruto. He whoops him pretty bad, spank over the knee, especially Sasori. To be honest, as far as I'm concerned, the Iron Sand has no durability from what we see. It literally has no durability. If you're being extremely generous, you say it's like Biju level, but like Naruto's one-shotting Pain, who's like,
or like it scales to like Sakura's punch, because she like tries to punch it once, but it's like where does that Sakura scale in like raw strength to this Naruto? You know what I'm saying? You would never, what I mean? Like, this Naruto just has shown like physically better feats, like lifting strength wise.
Yeah. And like Naruto's able to one-shot, and like harm the Paths of Pain, which is like arguably, whether you think he's top of the Akatsuki or not, or the strongest in the Akatsuki, is kind of relevant. You have to, most people, reasonable people, say he's top 3, right? And all Akatsuki members are Biju level, and he does most of that by himself, so yeah, Naruto just is as well, even with that high interpretation. So, he could just one-shot the Iron Sand, and if not, he is definitely one-shotting Sasori. Another thing to note about Naruto is his danger sense as well, and it probably goes up linearly as like how dangerous the incoming attack is, at least in my opinion it does. Like, so the poison would just make his danger sense go all out of whack. Which would just make it easier for him to react and dodge Sasori, who he would already be faster than. So he's blitzing and one-shotting Sasori probably. And even if like the 100 puppets come out, I mean, okay, You know, he's gonna one shot all those too, I guess. You know what I mean? Or Frog Song. You know, but well, I guess they can't hear it. They are puppets, but you know, he can definitely do more stuff with the toads, is what I was trying to get out there. But Sasori's not doing anything. As for Deidara, it's a little weird because Deidara's strategy, typically in fighting, is a hard counter to Naruto. But I'll just say this: Naruto with a miniature like Kurama amp beat Deidara down on the ground. He had him bleeding. So you could say that, like, you know, even that was like in like a clone of Deidara or whatever, right? But you could just say that they are comparable at least. You know, like if Naruto gets his hands on, he's killing Deidara, which is consistent with Deidara being below, you know, heavy Sasuke in most physical stats, such as, you know, speed and whatnot. As like he never even wants to contest heavy Sasuke at all, and he just,
even if you like take my fault, I gotta say, even if you say they're relative or like Deidara is like those Curse Mark 2 levels of speed, Naruto just scales to like a stronger Sasuke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like with MS and like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's not too questionable that Naruto's going to be performing very well here.
Yeah, and you could argue like Curse Mark's like a 10 times amp from like base. So then you have like Naruto who's above that, who's like over 10 times, right, above this, you know, Sasuke, who like in base is such a threat, or at least with 3-tone way is such a threat to Deidara, where Deidara, like, he has 2 encounters on the ground, or 3 encounters technically. And after that, he's like, all right, I'm not going to contest him in speed. I just have to drop bombs and hope one kills him.
Yeah.
You know, like, he literally blows one up in his face so, you know, Sasuke doesn't murder him. So, if Naruto gets near him, he's ending it. Naruto could also launch himself very high, you know, or use Gamma Bunta, which is something you brought up to me. You know, maybe you could say he would use that like how Minato used it on like Kurama. He would just drop it, you know, like on Deidara in the air, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. But, you know, maybe you say that Deidara just hides in the air and, you know, Naruto can't do anything, but like that doesn't matter, as that's just a fail for Deidara, because we're grading Deidara. You know, we're grading Deidara and Sasori if they can capture Naruto, which is just, you know, they're not going to. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, and even the Gamabunta stuff, you know, Gamabunta obviously has those water bullets as well that he, like, are on par with, like, Shikaku's, like, air bullets and stuff like that. So he could even just force Deidara to, like, maneuver kind of similar to how Sasuke does with the Shuriken into certain, like, you know, a Naruto throwing a Rasen Shuriken at him or something. Like, there's all these ways they can kind of do this. And we know, that's even if you argue just Gamma, because Naruto shows up with Gamma Hero, Mr. Gamakin. So it's like you have 3 like kind of Gamabunta level toads pulling up. It's just gonna be like kind of crazy. There's not really gonna be like these, you know, the Renegon dog to distract them or keep multiplying or anything like that. So yeah, I agree with what you were saying.
Yeah. So what do we give Deidara and Sasori like grade wise? I guess we should say, what do you think Pain's grade is? Do you think he gets? I think he won, so I think Pain gets an A. Agree. You know, maybe not an A plus. I think he gets an A. We'll give Pain an A. So what does Sasori and Deidara get? I mean, like, I'd say they get like a D plus. They get a D plus. Yeah, actually, screw it. C minus. C minus. They get C minus. Yeah, they can get a C minus, I would say. Just, I think they do good at the destruction part and everything up until Naruto comes in, but past that, they're just not going to be able to even get close to fulfilling the mission. So, yeah. Next up, though, we got Kakuzu and Hidan, everyone's favorite duo, you know, the zombie duo. And this one should be, you know, rather brief, but it's just stylistically horrible for these two. These are the two that struggle the most, because if you look at, you know, what Pain did, he was able to use the catastrophic Shinra Tensei just to bomb the village. Deidara has the C3 to bomb the village. You know, if you say Sasori does it, he has the 100 puppets, you know, to at least cause some mayhem. But for Kakuzu and Hidan, it's just like Kakuzu could use, you know, maybe his Wind Heart, and then maybe the Fire Heart as well to amp each other, I guess. And then that's how they would cause the damage. But like past that, they don't really have anything. So I think that Tsunade comes in, unironically, because I don't think they have anything to cause that damage to hunt for him, you know, at least. Maybe you say they take a more stealth approach, but that just means that Tsunade gets wind that the Akatsuki members are inside the village and looking for him, and she's going to go fight them or whatnot. But so we have Tsunade, who's also going to join the fray, which is pretty bad. As even, like, you know, the Kakashi that, like, fights Pain is probably stronger than the Kakashi that fights Kakuzu. And Kakuzu against, you know, that Kakashi wasn't really going all out. You know what I mean? Kakashi still held the Kamui back, and he implied he could have won whenever. He just didn't want to, bedridden himself for a week or whatever. So I definitely think he could lock in, and kind of go crazy. What do you think on that?
I mean, there's a couple ways you could do it. If you go off, I know we were talking about this, like the 10th anniversary guide statement, which does cover up to the 5 Kage Summit for anybody who is curious. We do know Kakashi's like training every day, which goes alongside
Chapter 456, I believe.
Yep. And it goes alongside with guide training consistently, the both of them always being comparable or like able to keep pace with one another. And obviously, if one was training far more than the other, this really wouldn't work. So when you kind of look at like that, kind of like not really arguably, but stronger Kakashi, doing well, it's going to be a bit of a problem, obviously. And you have this same Kakashi with like way better support compared to like the original timeline. He's going to have Choza, he's going to have Choji, he's going to be able to sync up with them, along with like many Leaf Village Shinobi to just like add in, just like support and like keep the hearts busy. It's just kind of like a bad situation for Hidan and Kakuzu. Like, honestly, like there's not too much they could really do. Obviously Diamond Morph doesn't really matter because of Raikiri and stuff like that. And again, right, it's not like, look, I'm gonna be real. Tsunade is kind of cracked in this encounter as well because she might actually just be like too durable. It kind of depends on how you scale her to her punches. Some people think she scales. Some people off the novels think she doesn't. She like breaks her arm and bones and like heals them. If you go off the former, then just Hidan's never going to pierce her to get, the blood win con. And she'll just be like disastrous for that. But I don't even think Tsunade even needs to show up. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's actually that bad.
Yeah, I think Jonin, like, actually deal with Hidan. Because one thing interesting about Hidan, and this is something I was just thinking about, is Hidan is like Konoha Jonin level. Like, of course, you say he's like Asuma, right? You could say he could combat Asuma, maybe have an edge over Asuma. But that's fine, as Asuma is like a higher level Jonin, but you look at these lower Jonin, who I believe it's a Kotetsu, right? And he's able to like cut his head off. And one thing interesting about Hidan is even as a Akatsuki ring means 3, like the symbol on it means 3, which you can interpret as it's a triangle for his ritual. He has 3 blades on the end of his his scythe. He also suffers like 3 fatal encounters, before he's taken out or whatever, right? Or you could say he's taken out on the 3rd one. Either way, you say that like Kotetsu or whoever cuts his head off is enough to deliver a fatal blow to Hidan. Like they are of a caliber capable of killing Hidan, which is kind of interesting as well. So I think Hidan, low-key, if they put like 3 or 4 Jonin on him, he's done. He's also going to be really arrogant as well. So that kind of leaves Kakuzu, who has to keep those hearts away. Like he has to keep, the wind and fire, whatever he chooses. Wind probably, because wind's pretty destructive, away. He can't fight with that heart because he has to cause damage. Otherwise, everybody's jumping them. Yeah. So, I mean, he can't even go full power. You know what I mean? So we have like Tsunade, who scales above like Kakashi, because Kakashi kind of implies he's below like the Sanin, tier. He's like, how did Jiraiya do this? It's pretty consistent. He's horrified of Orochimaru. So, we have this character who's probably greater than Kakashi in Tsunade, who would just come in and, I'm gonna say it, probably come in and just one-shot Kakuzu, okay? So, if they get past Kakashi, if they get past, they get past that, they get past Tsunade somehow, TG, let them know what happens. Let them know what happens then.
Let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. Kakuzu versus Naruto. Naruto stated to get stronger, faster, ninjutsu buff. That Naruto with like basic clones, arguably fatigued from training, can like weave around Kakuzu, trick him and stuff like that. Now imagine that, but now those 3 clones can go into Sage Mode, right? They're Sage Mode clones, and the attack that one shot, or it did it one shot, but it took out all of Kakuzu's hearts. It's throwable now. It is just throwable. Like, what is Kakuzu doing? He's getting absolutely bully bagged bodied, bro. It's pretty bad. And Diamond Morph doesn't even matter. Like, it didn't matter before, but like Naruto is for Kumite. So you could argue like he could just like go through Diamond Morph like on so many spectrums. But I don't think I need to sit here and like argue like why Sage Mode Naruto absolutely just dismantles Kakuzu. Like I think people are smart enough to realize like that just doesn't need to be a discussion.
Yeah. I mean, he might be able to beat Pain, but he definitely ain't beating Sage Naruto. Okay. So what is the grade we give Kakuzu and Hidan?
They get an F, bro. They fail. They get washed out. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, I was whenever we were saying the Deidara and Sasori grade, I was like, we still got Kakuzu and Hidan. We can't give them a D.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let an F. They're getting an F. They get like an F, but it could be a high F. It could be like a 55%. Okay, it could be a high F, whatever.
F plus. I've never heard of this in my
Yeah,
life.
fuck it. They get an F plus. I don't think they just get like one shot by like the first Jonin, but they don't make it very far. But the next duo certainly does. We got Itachi and Kisame, and do you want to talk about why they might not even go for like the destruction type?
If you look at Itachi and Kisame's approach, it's very like infiltration-esque, especially if you want to look at how it is in part 1, how Itachi and Kisame just pull up to the Leaf Village. You could also argue that Itachi may be able to like see the chakra barrier, or like the barrier that's placed, the ceiling barrier with his Sharingan, or just have some sort of knowledge about it. That's also something interesting. But the thing about it is that like Itachi's not the type of fighter who likes large commotion anyway. Just because he doesn't want to spam MS techniques. He obviously doesn't want to strain his eyes and stuff like that. And he does kind of leave those heavy lifting to Kisame in a bunch of these situations. But in this type, we don't really, at least I don't see him like pulling up, being like with the Susanoo, being like, come run it. No, I definitely see him taking a stealth approach and definitely like genjutsuing and just mind controlling people into telling them what he wants to know. Which is actually a lot easier than what Pain did, because Itachi can then just control Leaf Shinobi and just go get more intel on top of that. So it just kind of leads this good ripple effect and stuff like that. And we actually do know that Itachi can genjutsu multiple people at the same time. So you could argue maybe he does it to like a couple Jonin. We see Kakashi do it to Danzo's Anbu, who are like watching over Sai. He got genjutsus 2 of them at the same time. We also know Itachi does a similar thing, and Itachi Shinden. So it's just kind of like, should be able to. I could see a good situation like that. He's going to tell Kisame not to wild out. They'll be able to gain the intel effectively without causing too much damage.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he can even interrogate all of them or genjutsu anyone in the village without the use of his MS. Like, I don't even think he has to go into it. He has Demonic Illusion Shackling Sticks, which is actually a 3-tomoe genjutsu that both him and Heavy Sasuke also possess. So you could say that, like, even like the peak of the village, being Tsunade, if you subscribe to that, is not taking, it's not like just gonna bust out of this or nothing. So, and this genjutsu is just, it works on higher people than her is, as in the strongest Sanin or Orochimaru.
Yeah.
And this is the reason why he's like, nah, Itachi's stronger. I'm quitting the Akatsuki. Screw this. So I think that's pretty important to kind of go through, but that's also kind of crazy because now they don't got to worry about all that commotion. Now, of course, the Jonin are going to get sent, but what are they doing? Like we have this is not the same Itachi and Kisame that came in part 1. This Kisame is not going to get washed by, normal Jonin. He's not going to get like blitzed by base guy. This is not like that anymore. Literally like 30 chapters after this, he goes on and he fights, Killer B, like a strong Killer B who scales like, slightly under Kage. So he's like Kage level, you know what I mean? Or like a high Kage level. So, and guy's not even in the village, who's also like potentially faster than Kakashi in part 1. So, Kisame is above all these. So he could low-key take out every single, Jonin. Even if you say they all kind of come down, they all try to like jump him, whatever. Literally, his like 1000 Shark Wave one-shots all of them. If anything, he just puts them in the bubble and just destroys them. Same goes, to be honest, if both Itachi and Kisame are locked in, they're going to whoop Kakashi. A lot of people think that Kakashi is like very hyper comparable to Itachi, and I disagree. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think he's comparable in a lower aspect. Maybe slightly comparable in base Sharingan, but even then, I don't think so, because Itachi with a 33% clone, or like a 30% clone, was able to, with just a base, in base, he's able to react to, like, Sharingan Kakashi, who's notably faster than, like, a normal Kakashi, but again, just 30% of his chakra, and he's still not even locked in, as he, like, smiles when Naruto hits him with the Rasengan and stuff like that. So
massively above Heavy Sasuke, who we also, like, the post-Aura Absorb Sasuke, who's also, in our opinion, at least, like, if you whether you want to argue him or Kakashi, if they're like the same tier, we think Heavy Sasuke is stronger, but if you have them at the same tier, doesn't matter either. Like, Itachi would just be above that.
Yeah,
and
he's
you
able.
see this yeah, go on. No, you're about to say what I'm about to say. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Were you gonna say like the perception blitz with
Yeah,
the
go
shuriken?
ahead, bro. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that Itachi's able to even like throttle a heavy Sasuke level combatant who's probably faster than this Kakashi, but you say they're relative or whatever. He's able to like perception blitz him in combat and completely convince him that he's going all out until he's just told otherwise that he would have just killed him whenever he wanted, which is pretty consistent. Maybe you could say that like Kakashi's Sharingan helps him a bit, but it's not gonna do much with Itachi. It could for Kisame, but to be honest, I highly doubt it. Kisame could also just absorb stuff like the Raikiri or the lightning style, that Kakashi is so crazy with, or maybe he's 1,000 jutsu, he whips those out. But they definitely get handled. So I think, to be honest, Itachi won't have to go to Susanoo. You could say he might have to go to Mangekyo, if you're being generous to the Leaf, but I really do think that Itachi and Kisame do clear this like Jonin, Kakashi, Choza, Choji, and the other Jonin, and even Tsunade fairly easily until they fight Naruto. Which, do you want to take the lead on that?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, right? Because we're of the opinion, right, that Itachi scales to above like the 5 Kage Summit Sasuke. That's like kind of comparable, same level of the Sage Mode Naruto. We know this because Itachi just has like mastery. He has like he has that armored Susanoo form, which is achieved when one has mastery beyond the Mangekyo, which Itachi also has. So he's either a similar tier or just above. We both think above, but whatever. And it obviously paints an interesting scenario. Now, on the surface, some people are going to argue like Genjutsu, but the interesting thing about this Naruto is that he's encountered Itachi before. He knows about the Sharingan. Naruto in Sage Mode could just fight with his eyes closed. And we know this because he fights in complete darkness against I believe it's the summoning path, like the newer like version that gets put out. He just fights the summoning path in Gamabunta's mouth in complete darkness. So Naruto doesn't have to look at Itachi's eyes, which kind of mitigates the complete like Tsukuyomi takedown, which does make this a lot harder of a kind of bout, honestly speaking. And it kind of depends like who leads with what. Because obviously, maybe Kisame goes after the big 3 summoning toads and kind of leaves Naruto to like Itachi. And it kind of leaves this interesting discussion. What do you think?
I'll be honest. I think realistically if they split up, because typically in character, I always get the vibe that, Kisame and Itachi, they don't really fight, back to back. You take this, I'll take this. It's more like, I'm gonna go do this, you do that, we'll be back up. So I think it's going to be Kisame's going to take all the Sage Toads and anyone else that's left, and Itachi takes Sage Naruto, just to be honest, which I do think Itachi does very well. I personally do subscribe to Itachi at least being relative to his Edo Tensei counterpart. If you guys have like contention with that, I'm not going to explain it here, just check out my Itachi vs. Pain video. I go pretty in depth there on his like microscopic polyangiitis, or whatever you want to say it is. But yeah, you can understand why I think Itachi is probably close to his Edo Tensei self, or at least just above peak Kage Summit Sasuke. So Itachi just seemingly is above this Naruto, in terms of like stats and whatnot. So I think, of course they're comparable. Like, I don't think he's gonna, blitz this, Sage Naruto. He ain't gonna, perception blitz him or nothing. And that's also in part to the danger sense and the reaction speed boost that's given by Sage Mode, which is gonna kind of counter things such as Amaterasu. Those things will just be countered completely. But things that are extremely like overwhelming are things that come out when the Susanoo comes out. Like, what happens when Itachi throws out, 4 Yasuka beads, when 3 could bomb the, the Chibaku Tensei, which obviously scales above Naruto. Even like the Pain, who just, could not hold that up. He literally could not hold the jutsu up. The jutsu was falling apart, and, literally it took like, 8 Tails Naruto just to get rocks off that thing, which is obviously implied to be greater than Sage Mode, as that's what he needs to tap into for like the narrative we kind of touched on with the 5 Kage Summit Sasuke needing more hatred, whatnot. So you could say that, but I will say that Itachi with just 3 Yasuka beads and suppressed, with a lower suppressed form of the Susanoo, is able to bomb, the Chibaku Tensei and just completely vaporize it. So, it's obviously that the Chubaku Tensei doesn't scale 100% to, you know, the Bijou Bomb, the Rasen Shuriken, and the Asuka beads, because it, you know, that's just not, you know, possible. But even if you grant that and lowball them, then you say that he destroyed 33%. He can use even, you know, more than that as shown against Kabuto, where he uses another one, making that, you know, 44%, which is just something that Naruto has no counter to. And I like to say that Naruto is like a durability beast, but could he tank that? I don't know. Probably, you know, probably not. So he's shooting those out, and then he has, you know, the Totsuka Blade, which he would not use, which is a problem. Like, he can't use that, but he can use it to, like, divert Naruto, because if he seals Naruto, I don't think he can get him out, to be honest. But things like the Yadomir will come very in handy and will help him kind of just take down, you know, Naruto. Which Kisame should deal with the Toads pretty quickly. So I think that also leaves room for Kisame to come in and kind of help. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to this matchup. I mean, I will say this. I definitely don't see Naruto beating this duo before, like, So his Sage Mode timer is going to run out, right? It's going to run out, and at that point, he actually has to open up his eyes, which is going to leave him vulnerable to a Genjutsu takedown. And we kind of saw this already, how him versus, like, the 30% Itachi clone went. Granted, you know, you could argue, like, Naruto's a bit stronger now. Maybe he'd be able to body, like, the finger Genjutsu. But Tsukuyomi, obviously not. But I do think Naruto does do well with some of Itachi's, like, techniques. You know, the Amaterasu point we were talking about earlier. What I talk about when, like, discussing, like, Naruto's Amaterasu, being able to, like, dodge Amaterasu. Actually,
Anyway, what grade are we giving Itachi and Kisame? Because I'm gonna be honest, I think they do capture Naruto. I don't think, because Naruto also, his Sage Mode's gonna go out eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which then that's gonna lead things, you know, such as Genjutsu hitting him, because Naruto gets caught off guard by Itachi's Genjutsu in character. So, you know, stuff like that.
Or Itachi Genjutsu's like any of the Toads. Like Pa, Gemabunta, Gemadhiro, Mr. Gamakin. In which case, like, if he does get Pa's not. There's no one's gonna be able to make. Like, yeah, you can maybe argue he makes a clone to summon obviously the spare clone for Mount Miyaboku, but then it's gonna be like base Naruto versus Itachi at this point, which is just a wash, or like base Naruto versus, like, if you want to argue, like, Kisame, or like maybe Kisame's, like, you know, fusing and stuff like that. You get some pretty outrageous scenarios and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think Genjutsu, even though you could argue it wouldn't be as effective on this Sage Mode Naruto, it does actually make a difference here. My bad.
Yep. No. You're definitely cooking. So I'm gonna be honest. I think Itachi and Kisame also get an A, because Pain won, but ultimately was pretty messed up in doing so. I don't think, because that's also, you also got to give Pain his credit, because, you know, Conan did not help him, like, at all. So give him some credit. But I will say, I think Itachi and Kisame do just a little better, just based on arsenals and how they're able to get in without all the damage that Pain had to do to, you know, to do what he did. But so I'm gonna say I give them an A or an A minus. You know, if you be lower, you can say like a B plus, but I don't think if they're anything possibly lower than a B plus, it has to be like an A minus or an A. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay. I think they get the job done a lot quicker too. Like in canon, it's like we're just making up. Like, obviously we have this scenario, but more likely than not, like, they wouldn't just be running this gauntlet. They would just pull up on Mount Miyaboku and just pull up on Naruto there. Realistically, like, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Anyway, for like a little bonus, we can talk about Team Taka and how they would do. Which, to be blunt, I know this is pretty much stated that Sage Naruto is above, like, the Sasuke at that time before he goes in to the summit. You know, I believe it's Zetsu who states that. But this pretty much stands true. Sage Naruto is whooping everybody in Taka. Okay, like, we can say that Taka comes in. Okay, because Taka, they have to do that, and they also wouldn't take a head-on approach, as whenever they get the B fight, you know, assigned to them, they just kind of, like, come up to his training grounds and try to off-guard him. So, you know, they probably would try that as well. And to be honest, then at that point, I mean, Yeah, they're just gonna get jumped, you know, by Jonin and whatnot, and Tsunade, who could low-key handle these threats. As this Sasuke yet isn't even quite, you know, on the level of like that B. I definitely think B has an advantage. She's just below the Raikage, who's Tsunade's skills too, you know, admittedly later, especially like once you say she has 100 healings, which she could probably go into here, since she does not have to, you know, heal as many people or whatever. So I think she could honestly beat most of Team Taka, or at least weaken them. I think Kakashi could as well. I think that's so much. Even, and, you know, just, what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Obito kind of like infers that like Taka just isn't ready to take on the village kind of like pain. And he also calls them kind of, he also calls it kind of like a fruitful endeavor anyway, since the village has already been destroyed. Sasuke thinks he can actually take on the Leaf after just like the B fight and like resting up and like getting his MS, but this would not have gone well for him just because like at this point, his MS isn't mastered. He may be weakened at this point. Depends like what point in the series like you kind of argue he does go. But if you use the version that fought B, he's obviously physically not going to be as strong as his Hebi counterpart. So it's just going to be this really bad situation. Like all he has is like a Matarasu, which he can't spam. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not. He's going to use it once or twice, and then obviously he's going to be facing lashback and stuff like that. And Taka is just not enough to compensate for this. Like realistically, like even if you gave them the best scenario, Sasuke is not running the Leaf without his Mangekyo Sharingan. And even if you gave him like the best scenario, what are like fatigued MS Sasuke like that fought B versus Sage Mode Naruto, that's no encounter at all. Like even if you gave him a Matarasu, this is what like I talk about when like discussing like Sasuke and Matarasu versus Naruto. We actually see that in the Final Valley, Naruto was able to block Sasuke's Amaterasu, and we know Naruto at that point does not have any notable sensory increases in his base form, aside from maybe like sensing Sasuke's 6 patch powers, but that's kind of like its own outlier thing. So you kind of go back down to 2 also comparable points of the character, with Naruto having a better sensory buff. And yeah, he's just going to be dodging the Amaterasu because it's also just predicated on Sasuke's sightline. But we do know you can like aim dodge it kind of like the Raikage. And yeah. Or just B like reacts to it and like blocks it with this tentacle tail. We've seen other characters do it.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like one thing I thought was kind of interesting when we talk about Taka is you'll notice like Taka's best bets are things that already get countered based on things we discussed. Like example, right? We said that Hebi Sasuke is, you know, like above this Kakashi, you know what I mean, or like comparable, like they're in the same tier, and then this Taka is weaker than the Hebi as well, which means he's more comparable to Kakashi more or less than Sage Naruto. And also we already talked about how Naruto would deal with like you know, Amaterasu with the danger sense. So to be honest, you know, not to sit here and beat around the bush, Taka does not win. They are not going to be able to capture Naruto. That's just straight up. As for their grade, I would say, listen, they are also probably like a D plus or a C minus. If we gave Sasori and Deidara like a C or a C minus, these guys are probably like a D plus or a C minus because I don't think they do, you know, like that. But I definitely think they'd probably do better than Kakuzu and Hidan, but you know, probably not near as good as Sasori and Deidara. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. They're just not. The rest of Team Taka is not up to snuff, unfortunately. And it's like Sasuke's the focal point, and when he kind of falls apart, it doesn't really work. Like even if you argue like Jugo starts wilding out, you know, falls into the curse mark and stuff like that, and starts unleashing raw amounts of damage. It's like we already know like Jugo is a curse mark victim, or a Sharingan. He can be Genjutsu since C does it. And unless he's not near Sasuke in proximity, you could argue like Kakashi would just Sharingan him. And obviously you have Sugetsu, who's not going to be access to like the large amounts of water that kind of allowed him to perform some crazy feats versus B. So it's just like there's not too much, you know what I'm saying? I don't think they'd do horrible. It's just like they're not going to win.
Yeah. I completely agree. But that is all we have. You know, if you guys did like, you know, again, please like and subscribe. We did put a lot of effort into this and the research that comes into this, but you know, I hope you guys did find something. Make sure to go check out him. Go check out his videos. Itachi vs. Pain will be linked in the description. So will his channel. Yeah, as always, love you guys.